Hey, so I am flying out to the Mayo Clinic tomorrow morning. Well, actually, tomorrow at noon, with a layover in Las Vegas, 2 hours, just enough to get into trouble, and then off to Minneapolis, where we'll drive down to Rochester. So we're heading to the Rochester Mayo Clinic. If you don't want to know my story, if you haven't been watching a lot of my videos, you can go back, or I'll give you a short little version of it. I wound up with stomach pain and bloating and gas and a bunch of other symptoms, really bad diarrhea, which I've had since I've had my gallbladder removed, but that's a whole nother story. And went to a GI, didn't get a lot of help, went to a GI, wound up losing probably 25 pounds in a matter of 2 months because I started I was reacting to food. Every time I ate, I would get bloated, really bad stomach pain. And I'm a pretty active person, and so that was really discouraging because my activity went down. Anyway, colonoscopy, endoscopy, several CTs, MRI. Later, nothing could be found. Possible proctitis. Had a, what are those? The twists where they stop the loop, in your stomach and it stops. In ileus, paralytic ileus. And those are the, things that they found, but it didn't explain the other symptoms. So wound up that one of the doctors just kind of off the cuff said, oh, it might be SIBO. And so I didn't even wait for the test. I went and did the research. It looked like what it was, and went ahead and forced my GP, went to her and said, hey, these are the symptoms. I'm taking the test tomorrow, but we can treat before. So she agreed because my symptoms were totally out of control. I was dying, basically. I'd never been through anything like that in my life. And so got on the SIBO rifaximin and neomycin, and that seemed to take care of it, but I still had a lot of stomach pain, cramping, just weird stomach things that just, started showing up as I was getting treated. So was put on a medication called Remeron in the interim to help with sleep, and that medication ended up going south on me, so wound up having to quit that medication. Had some really bad side effects when I quit that took 6 weeks of my life also to recover from, and then come to find out still having stomach issues, really bad upper stomach pain. Did a test, wound up having C Diff and H Pylori at the same time, got treated for both of those. Who knows? Wound up in so much pain over the summer when I was not being treated correctly for the H Pylori and the C Diff, because it started in May and they didn't catch it until September. I was in so much pain, I physically could not stand more than 10-20 minutes at a time, and that was horrible. And so got treated for those, continued to have massive stomach pain, lots of diarrhea, and just no matter what we threw at it, the kitchen sink we threw at it, every kind of medication that we threw at it, wasn't getting better. Wound up in New York at a neurogastroenterologist because my GI was just like, oh, there's not a whole lot I can do. You're not, when I push on your stomach, you're not wincing in pain. It's functional pain. It might be IBS. It might be this. It might be that. Whatever. He just thought it was all in my head. Anyway, went to the neurogastroenterologist who ordered tests for my GI to run here. He ran tests here that were the Smart Pill study and the anorectal manometry, which showed, the anorectal manometry showed that I had pelvic dyssynergia, which is like your pelvic muscles aren't working correctly together. Went to biofeedback therapy for that. Biofeedback therapy actually didn't really do much, and actually found out that I didn't need biofeedback therapy because they can actually tell whether or not your muscles are working correctly, and they were. So it's not pelvic dyssynergia. Went and paid for my own colonoscopy just a little bit ago. Should have done this a while ago because of the massive diarrhea in between. But anyway, just act as quickly as you can, because the quicker that you act on an issue that you're having, you don't have to go through a longer recovery. My recovery has been ridiculously long because it's taken so much time to get to a diagnosis before we get to a treatment. And then when the treatment kicks in, it's got to make up for all this time that, you know, in your stomach, it's got a memory. So if it was in pain and wincing in pain all the time, then it's going to remember that and it's going to keep doing that, even though it's got the right med now. So found out I had collagenous colitis, now on budesonide, which hasn't helped in the past, but who knows, we'll probably have to wind up with prednisone because it's been misdiagnosed now for almost a year and a half on top of all the other stuff. Anyway, flying out to the Mayo Clinic, that is where I'm at, and going to see if I can get some more answers, because my shit ain't just IBS. I am not going to let them use that as a way to get out of treating me, as a way of you're too difficult, or we just can't understand the symptoms, or it's just not, we're just not finding anything. No, you've got to do a little bit of digging. So, all right, Mayo Clinic tomorrow, and I'll film tomorrow as we board. All right.